What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow for NIO. I'm going to talk about what may end up happening to NIO, why on earth this thing may actually have a little bit more room to push up, and what my price prediction is. I'm going to talk about what the data is suggesting for NIO, what the news is saying about the markets, and also what NIO put on their Twitter page that still is very bullish news for the long-term future, as I am still very, very confident this company will prevail over the long term. Now, before I break any of this down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 10 free stocks, each worth up to $3,500. And the best part is, out of the 10 free stocks you're going to get, 5 of them are going to come from the wheel right here. This means that you could get 5 free Google shares, 5 free Tesla shares, or Apple shares, or AMC shares, or a mix of each of them. So it's a limited time offer. Check it out before they run out. This is literally free money you are going to get, as the offer ends once again in 6 days. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at NIO, this thing is currently up about 8.29%, at least on Friday. A little bit red in the after hours, but I want to talk about what on earth the technicals are suggesting. So there is something that's a little bit concerning to me. I'm not saying that I'm straight up bearish, but right now it's been respecting this upward trend, which is great. But there is one small issue, and that is max pain right now. Currently, max pain's at about $18.50. Now, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that we're going to drop that low, but it's an indication that this may be what institutions kind of want. Now, I'm not saying that means that Tuesday and Wednesday have to be red days. It does not mean that whatsoever. But what it does indicate is that there could be some kind of bearish price action near the end of the week, perhaps on Thursday and Friday. But before we get there, we might actually have more room to push up all the way up to this 22 zone. And I'm going to show you why I think that. Now, for the overall market, okay, you have to remember there's some news coming out about how the New York Fed model sees a high probability of a hard landing for the economy. So I just want to put that out there that, look, in the market right now, there could be some temporary relief, but overall, there could be more downside for the next couple of months, especially as July is a very important month as GDP reports are coming out, not to mention CPI and other metrics. But right now, we're also seeing something interesting. Wall Street is still buying the dips. They're slowly dollar cost averaging down because they know when you have big dips like this in the markets, when we have these bear markets, eventually there's going to be a bull market that takes over. So they're getting ready for it already. And this could just be a lesson for us, as we have a very good opportunity to buy these dips and dollar cost average. Now, when it comes to NIO, what on earth is going on? All right. So in one of my previous videos, I talked about how a long time ago, NIO kind of formed a gap. I mean, it's pretty far back. I'm not going to go that far back, but we formed this gap at 2246. Now, before we filled that, before we actually get to that zone, I want to mention this right here, and that is we had this gap at about $20.06, maybe a little bit higher than that. There was a gap right over here around 20.9, and what happened is NIO actually managed to fill that gap on what was that on Friday. So we did pretty darn well. That we did do what I predicted, and we're still respecting this upward trend, which looks pretty darn bullish. Now, what is NIO going to do in the future? Well, I have to talk about the market first, right? For the SPY, you're going to notice this. The SPY is on this downward trend, but it's very possible we get a temporary relief bounce, maybe for the first few days of the week. I'm going to show you why I think that, because if you look at the daily candles, check this out. This is very interesting. So when we get these moments where the SPY starts to drop, it's not just in a straight line down. Notice this. We dropped, pushed up, dropped, pushed up, push up, dropped, pushed up, dropped, pushed up. Now we're dropping. What do you guys think is going to come next? We might actually push up a little bit. So here's the interesting thing. We go back to January. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 red days in a row, big drop, followed by a bounce and some relief right over here with sideways action. What happened in February? 1, 2, 3, 4 major red days, because these are daily candles, followed by another bounce and some sideways action, right? A slight bounce that at least formed. And then right here, 1, 2 red days, 2 green days, 2 more red days, then all of a sudden, boom, we get that temporary relief bounce. Now, what happened more recently? This is where things become interesting. We get 2 red days, green day, red. We're kind of bouncing back and forth between green and red. We got temporary relief right here, followed by more downside. 3 major red days, followed by a bit of a push, right? And then once again, 1, 2 red days, another big push up. And then what's happening is, if you look at the daily candles recently for the SPY for the past week, red, 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 little green, red. And this almost looks like, what is that, like a doji, but not necessarily a doji, I would say. I want to look at this less of what the term is and more of a trend reversal indicator from this shape we have from this candle. So what could happen is perhaps 362 is a temporary bottom. The SPY might fill some of its gaps up and then continue down a little bit later. And I honestly think that's what's going to happen. Now, is it possible for me to be wrong? Sure, sure, because the market is kind of bearish. We're seeing some shaky price action, but I'm anticipating that this is almost resembling a head and shoulder. And it's very hard to see. We have the shoulder here, the head, the other shoulder. And what I'm essentially seeing is the SPY has this gap at around 380. 380 is that key zone. That's where previous support used to be. This might be what happens to the SPY. We might push up to 380 very soon and get a rejection after that. Now, can I promise that? The answer is no, but it's very much in the realm of possibility. I mean, if I look at the max pain for the SPY, this is where things become interesting. If I look up the SPY, you'll notice that max pain is also showing something very, very interesting, because the options chain right now is still suggesting something very similar. Because when the SPY has all of this red, if it's so oversold, typically it's set for a bit of a balance based off historical data. And what you're seeing is the max pain for the SPY is at 378. Okay, the SPY right now is at 365. All right, so and this is for the 21st. For the 24th, it's at 384. So could it be that the SPY is about to push up a little bit? I can't promise that, but there's some indicators that are suggesting we might get some of a push up. So then if you look at the NASDAQ, very similar story. All right, the NASDAQ had this gap down, pushes down. It's been just gapping down crazy hard over the last couple of days. And you'll notice it appeared to bounce off $10,565. This is an indication that the NASDAQ is starting to respect a bit of an upward trend and starting to kind of trend up. And it looks like, excuse me, it looks like it might actually fill this gap at around $11,000. So the SPY and NASDAQ might actually push up, Tesla as well. That might actually cause NIO to push up a little bit more because it has this big gap right here. Let me show you where the gap is. I mean, I painted this or drew this out along a while back. It's basically at $22.46. I don't want to go all the way back to show it specifically, but we have a gap at $22.46. And right now we're heading in that direction, and it's very possible for that to happen. Now, I'm going to go over the bearish and bullish possibilities. I'm going to show you what is more likely. So one thing that's a little concerning is we're kind of oversold. Max pain's a little lower for NIO. And also we have this inverse head and shoulders that already kind of completed. And it does look like it could end up seeing a breakdown to the downside. So what you got to look out for is this. If NIO drops below 20, we also have a gap right here at about 19.2, 19 point, around 19.2. So if NIO drops below 20, can't hold 20, it starts dropping a little bit. If I see this thing get close to that like 19.6 range, it would look like it's going to fill this gap down here to that $19 level. And then this whole max pain situation, if I actually go back and show it to you for NIO, which is like right here, sorry, for max pain, if it's pointing at 18.5, that would be a bearish indication that NIO might actually end up dropping if it doesn't hold $20. All right. But another more bullish possibility is if NIO could actually break that 21 range. To me, that's another key zone. I forgot to actually point this out. If we could hold above 21, okay, that would look really bullish, and we might actually end up filling the gap to 22.46. So what is most likely going to happen? What I think could end up happening is NIO might actually get a bit of a push up with the overall market. If the SPY starts to rally, if the NASDAQ rallies, if Tesla rallies, and the whole market starts to push up, it's possible NIO gets a bit of a push like this. and this thing starts to push up slowly, it might actually go to that 21 range, 21.8, and we might slowly kind of hold in this range for a temporary amount of time, just like this. But then in the later days of the week, if we could hold that 21 range, that would be very, very good. And I would anticipate that by maybe Wednesday, we end up filling the gap before seeing some more bearish price action. So this is essentially what I would predict. NIO kind of holding this range and actually managing to close around that 21.5, 21.3 range, somewhere around those lines. So that's essentially what I'm predicting for this one. Still a little bit more on the bullish side. Now, I don't want to just draw one line and show you, oh, this is what I think is going to happen. I also need to go over the more bearish possibility, and that is maybe we're going to see some more downside a little bit earlier than some people would expect. And what could happen is, what if NIO starts to drop a little bit? And what could happen is it might actually fill the gap within a very short period of time. We want to see this thing hold 20. If it kind of trends down and doesn't hold 20, 19.5 is probably going to be the next stop. We might actually hold around there. But if, like I said, if that doesn't hold us, if we end up dropping lower, it's possible we end up filling that gap at 19.2. So I just want to put that out there that it's a possibility. You got to look out for both of these ranges. But that's essentially how I see this chart playing out. Now, what do I think is going to happen? What's my actual darn prediction? And like I said, I think the yellow line is more likely to happen if the market pushes up hard and NIO does trace the market. We're probably going to see something like this where the yellow line is. Let me zoom into it. And then NIO may start to approach this $22.46 gap fill. So hopefully we see that. I do think that's more probable. I'm probably aiming like 60-40. I think there's a 60% chance we see the yellow and a 40% chance we see the red. That's essentially what I'm predicting. If this doesn't play out, like what I'm predicting doesn't play out, the red line right here is probably what will end up happening. So be on the lookout for these gaps, be on the lookout for those support and resistance levels. But like I said before, I am predicting a more bullish day for Tuesday. Can I guarantee it? No, but that's just how I'm seeing it as of right now. So with that done, with that said and done, from a more technical perspective, we could look at the RSI and the MACD just real quick. We could use the 5-minute. I would prefer using maybe like the 2-hour candles just to give you a better understanding. You could see right here, if I zoom in, we get the MACD and signal line crossover showing some bullish momentum that's continuing. So there is not a signal right now that we've broken out of this upward trend just yet, which is why I am still a little bit more in favor of a bullish perspective. So as of right now, it's looking pretty good. RSI is still pretty strong. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out, but I am a little bit more bullish than bearish for NIO for the short term. All right. With that out of the way, I want to talk about what the news is saying. And once again, this is what my prediction line would look like, just like this, more of a push up than down. I do think that's more likely, but the news is also comparing NIO with Rivian and other cars out there. And what I like is the monthly full actually said some true things about NIO. They're showing how the valuations of the companies are a little bit different, but there's something else that's good is they're showing the fundamentals, and that is how NIO's deliveries keep on improving and their revenue keeps going up as well as it's approaching, you know, the billions and billions and billions per quarter, right? It's getting closer and closer to that. So I'm very happy for NIO. And here's my opinion. It doesn't matter which one you choose. At the end of the day, I'm still incredibly bullish for both companies. Rivian is going to be huge, and so will NIO, especially because they're entering this big section. But this channel specifically focuses on how great NIO is, especially when they post things like this about how NIO is not only an electric automobile company, but also an experience and a lifestyle. And that's what makes it so incredible, in my opinion. So I'm very bullish for NIO. For the long term, I can't wait for what the future holds. For the short term, I do expect some choppy price action, especially as I do think Jerome Powell is going to be speaking this week. But with that out of the way, thank you for listening. Have a great rest of the day. I showed you guys my prediction, the yellow line right here. And with that out of the way, I will see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, and peace out.